So this one's really interesting because a guy basically gets Dr. Peterson against the ropes where he has to admit he's making a special pleading for Christianity. Interestingly enough, Dr. Peterson ends up giving the classical Joseph Smith defense, which isn't really surprising since I already said I agree with so much of what Dr. Peterson says, but let's check it out.
My final claim is that atheists accept Christian morality, but deny the religion's foundational stories.
What does it mean to accept Christian values precisely, or Christian morality?
It means to aim up as hard as you can, no matter what happens to you. I could say that you would have to believe that Christ is God and he died for your sins, right? But that's, in a very difficult way to understand, that's the same claim.
On a side note, when it's open mic Sunday at the church and people give meandering testimonies, it doesn't bother me because they're trying to do what Dr. Peterson says. Instead of just saying, I know the church is true, they're trying to give a more detailed explanation. They're just not as skilled at it as Dr. Peterson is. Plus, they're doing it off the cuff.
Yeah. If there are other theologies and disciplines that have similar types of values, how then is that definition mean? Like, wouldn't those also be Christian values under your definition?
That's a good question. I spent a lot of time studying different religious systems from all over the world and found multiple interesting layers of concordance. Right. So, for example, in ancient Egypt, their god Horus, who was the reviving god of the totalitarian state, he was the god of attention. Right, and the Jews hypothetically came out of Egypt, and there was crosstalk between Egyptian and Jewish foundational morality, and then that bled into Christianity. Meaning human beings all over the world have come up with moral systems that fit roughly into a pattern.
So Dr. Peterson's going to admit that many, if not all, the ideas of Christianity don't necessarily originate within Christianity because they occur in other places historically or chronologically in time. But what makes Christianity unique is that all these various ideas are sewn together into one system that makes sense. Sound familiar? That's what the French call le Joseph Smith defense.
I think you can make a case that Christianity formalized the landscape of good and evil more comprehensively and in more detail than any other religious system. And I think that that's part of the reason that it defeated paganism and spread so broadly across the West and is still dominant, still understructures our culture, for example.
Oh, it's time for a flashback, baby.
Sociologist Rodney Stark estimates that in its first 300 years, Christianity grew at a rate of 40% per decade, from a small group in the 1st century to 3 million in the 4th century. That sounds pretty impressive, until you learn that this is the same growth rate experienced by Mormonism since its foundation in the 19th century. So if the rate of Christianity's growth is good evidence of its truth, Mormonism just became a whole lot more plausible.
So if you take inspiration from Christian ideas, then insofar as you do that, you are in fact a believer, which was my point with regards to atheists not understanding.
But have you taken inspiration from Taoism or from studying Egyptian mythology?
Definitely.
So then you believe them under that definition?
Yeah, but I've incorporated them into something I think that's more comprehensive.
And so this is where Dr. Peterson's back in the corner and he has to basically give the Book of Mormon defense without having the Book of Mormon. You know, because people are always saying the Book of Mormon was plagiarized from these other books, but then the actual product of the Book of Mormon is better. So it's basically
better ingredients, better pizza, better bitch, better money, my clothes better, my shoes better, I work harder.
Is it possible to take inspiration and to appreciate the teachings without being a believer in their truth claims?
It depends. No, I don't think so. But I think, you see, there are different kinds of truth claims, right? There's propositional truth claims, which are the truth claims of what you say. And then there's embodied truth claims, which is the truth claims of what you do. Optimally, what you say and what you do would be brought into harmony. But I would say if you had to prioritize, it should be what you attend to and what you act first.
Dr. Peterson's point here is that atheists prioritize living a good life as if it matters, even though they say they don't believe in a God or believe in an afterlife or anything like that. The atheist's point is that if all the good things about Christianity come from somewhere else, then why can't he just say that he's living those other principles from somewhere else rather than Christianity? And because Dr. Peterson doesn't have the Book of Mormon available, he can't refute the atheist's claims, which use Dr. Peterson's logic against him.
I don't know that the Christian morality those principles originate in Christianity? Because you brought up other things that predate Christianity that you can very closely tie connections to.
Well, I don't think they do originate precisely. I mean, I don't think the Christian claim is exactly that they originate.
And this is where Dr. Peterson could have used the Book of Mormon so much, because the Book of Mormon shows us that Christianity existed ever since the first humans, that God taught Adam and Eve everything they needed to know about Christianity and that Christ would come. But as humanity fractured over time, then those ideas also fractured and constantly needed to be reassembled. That original knowledge needed to be restored constantly. In other words, the reason why Joseph Campbell found so many similarities and stories across multiple cultures across time is because Jesus Christ is the hero of 1,000 faces.
Christianity.
So if I'm living those values, how is it that I'm living the Christian values and maybe not the Egyptian values or something else?
Well,
that you
one
brought up?
of
Good game. You've been voted out by
that was good. That was good. Yeah.